I'll piggyback a little bit what I said before we played Oklahoma. I've been around long enough to know that having the opportunity to be here in the tournament is special. And it should be viewed that way as a privilege that you've earned, and oftentimes, in the blink of an eye, it's gone. We have only won 2 NCAA tournament games in the history of our school until we beat Oklahoma last night. So the excitement is there for us and our fans as well as it is for any program that has not had major league success in the tournament. That being said, if you get too caught up in the euphoria of winning a game, I don't think you prepare yourself for the next game. So we've tried to make sure that we knew that you must have genuine excitement, but then also the reality of you better get ready in a short turnaround for another game against a very, very good basketball team. So that's what we've tried to do. I like how we played last night. We made some shots, which is always helpful. And our staple, which has been our ability to guard, I do believe showed through, especially in the second half.
We have questions for Coach Fisher. We'll start in the back of the room.
Hey, Coach, what did you know about Florida Gulf Coast before yesterday, and what do you know about them now?
I probably knew more than any coach in America because I've got a condo that I've had from my days in the Midwest in Fort Myers Beach, a stone's throw from Florida Gulf Coast. I read all about starting sports. I went over to the campus. I've been on the campus. I've toured it. I don't know if they still play in Germain Arena on Interstate 75. No, they don't play there any longer. But I do know that it's a program now that everybody knows. And there's a great deal of excitement. And they're good. I think it's legitimate. If we were playing a shirts and skins game with all 64 teams and you brought all the teams out there and watched them warm up, you'd be hard-pressed to say, well, this is a team that's not supposed to win. They're good. They're talented. They're well coached. And they played terrific last night.
Down here in the front, go ahead.
Coach, there's a rumor going around kind of down there that you were once offered a coaching position there. Any truth to that?
Rumor from who?
Well, we're not exactly sure. One of our old writers is in contact with their old AD, who I guess is an old friend of yours from Michigan, Marilee Dean Baker. And we were just curious if you were ever offered the position there.
When I was between jobs, we had a conversation, and she talked about she was involved in the search committee, and we just talked about it. So no, I was never offered a job. I was there though, as I said, when they were starting the program and wanting to transition into a Division II program, and she was very excited about the potential. And now I know all of those that are affiliated with Florida Gulf Coast are beaming with pride about the reality of what they've done. It's been terrific.
We'll stay on the same side, just a few rows back.
Coach, what's it like, and maybe more importantly, what's it going to be like when you take the court tomorrow knowing that pretty much the whole country is rooting against you?
Well, I beg to differ on that. We were met with a rousing group of Aztec fans when we got back to the hotel last night, and I don't know how many we'll have, but San Diego is a pretty big city in our county and our state, and I would bet that most folks in Southern California will be cheering like crazy for the Aztecs. I was a high school teacher in Chicago. I'm going to have half of south side of Chicago cheering for San Diego State, and I born and raised in Illinois, and I got the state of Illinois that's voting for us. So we're not going to have everybody. It may seem like it tomorrow, but we'll have a few people cheering for us.
On the other side over here, yep, just raise your hand again, please, real quick. Just raise your hand again real quick.
Sorry.
Okay, thank you.
The coach before Andy Enfield, Dave Balza, one of your former assistants, the only coach they had before him. Is that one of the reasons you kept up on FGCU?
that was one of the reasons, yes. Dave Balza, who transitioned from Division II to Division I, was a former student manager, then helped grad assistant at Michigan, and that was a reason I did continue to follow the program from a distance. True.
Do we have any other questions for Coach Fisher? Yep, up here on the aisle.
Coach, kind of a little off the beaten track, but just, obviously you've been at this for a long time. When you had your teams at Michigan 20 years ago, great on defense, high scoring on offense. Two-part question. How much do you think the game has changed in the last 20 years? And do you think offense maybe has suffered a little bit from then to now, on a national level?
The scores probably are not what they were before, and I don't have the answer for that. I'm right in the mix of it. I was asked that same question before, and I thought it was probably twofold. One, I do think the game has become more physical, and that's impacted it. What used to be a for sure foul now is not always a foul. So I think when you go to the rim, those baskets are no longer a guarantee. And two, I think that the way people now scout with all the latest technology, you can punch a button and know everybody's favorite move, where he takes his shots from, how many dribbles he takes, and all of that. So you prepare a little bit better than you did 20 years ago.
Sure. With that in mind, is it a better game, worse game, or the same? I mean, as far as just the overall, aesthetic level of it for the fans and players.
I'm speaking more from wearing the coach hat. Even when I watch a game that I'm not directly involved in or I'm not going to play them, I watch it with great interest to see strategy and how people do different things and learn stuff and pick up ideas, set plays that we tweak a little bit and bring to our team. It continues to be phenomenal sport to watch. And I think it's grown in terms of the worldwide appeal to that effect. With now what you can do, you can watch every game. You don't have to watch a game and then have a cut to see a little bit of this and that. You can flip channels and you can see almost every game that's being played, which adds to the excitement. So I don't think it's been diminished in terms of the fan appeal. Low-scoring games can be tremendously exciting, even for the fans. So I think it's continuing to grow in terms of excitement, attendance, and appeal.
Stay on the other side of the aisle here. Go ahead.
Coach, earlier I asked Andy Enfield if he was, in fact, the most interesting man in the world, and he denied it, but I thought I'd get a second opinion.
Next question. He probably answered it. He could answer it better than I could answer it.
He's a fascinating guy.
Without question, he is. Without question, he is. A bit atypical from a coaching standpoint, but very typical of every successful coach in terms of how he prepares a team, builds a team, grows a program. I'm immensely impressed with the job that he's done. I'm an admirer, and if we weren't playing them, I'd probably be a fan.
Up here in the front.
Coach, they have a very up-tempo style of play. Will you do anything different to prepare for that? I mean, will you make an effort to try to slow them down to a different pace? And what are your thoughts on their style of play?
I caught myself several times last night in the Oklahoma game yelling, "Get back, get back, get back." So we got to get back. We can't give them an inordinate number of runouts where I'm looking up and they're 3-on-2 or 4-on-2 or 4-on-3, and they have those trail guys running in from midcourt to tip dunk one in or to get a lob for a basket. They run very effective. You can tell that they work at that. This doesn't just happen. This is not just pickup game on the street. This is a well-coached, well-defined style of play that they're good at. They like to play that way, and they are successful at it. So I'm impressed, and we have to do a good job of getting back. They probably run better than any team we will have played all year.
I think toward the back of the room again, or? Yep, go ahead.
I was curious about the condo in Fort Myers Beach. When did you buy it? Have you been there recently? And when was the first time you visited FGCU's campus?
I bought it as soon as I had enough money to get one, which is right after I became a head coach. And so I've had one since 1990. And in a complex where it's filled with Midwesterners, the person, Les Whitkey, who hired me for my first high school job, he hired me for my first college job. He had a condo in the same complex, which was the reason that we bought. Many of us jokingly refer to it as the poor man's Naples, but it's got a gorgeous view of the Gulf, and we love going there, and we will be going down sometime after the Final Four.
Do we have any more questions for Coach Fisher? Yep, in the back of the room right there.
Yeah, Coach. For all the people who might not be all that familiar with Jamal, is there a reason that comes to mind for you at all why maybe he's not as familiar all across the country as he is within basketball circles?
Jamal Franklin was not a McDonald's All-American coming out of high school and a top 100 player coming out of high school. He was the traditional, from way back, three-sport star. He was a great football player who could have played major college football. He went from that to basketball. As soon as basketball ended, he went out on the track and was a 7-foot high jumper in track. And he played for fun in the summer with AAU ball. So until he said, hey, I think I could be pretty good, and that was probably between his senior year in high school, did he start to say, if I want to be good, I have to work at this game. So he's worked at his game, and I think to his credit, every year he's gotten better. He went from a guy that I tried to talk into redshirting as a freshman, who willed his way into the rotation of that 34-3 team by the end of the year, to the player of the year in the conference last year, to a better player this year, an all-around better player. I think the people that follow basketball know, and maybe because we're West Coast and even those that like to watch, it's hard to stay up to watch a game starting at midnight here when we're playing. So I think that might have a little bit to do with it. But if you watch him, you remember probably a handful of things that he did, even as a casual fan, that you say, man, I remember what Franklin did there or there or there. So he's a talented player who should receive credit for how hard he's worked at becoming a really good basketball player.